This is my presentation. I'm Soledad Toledano. I'm a cybersecurity engineer at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. And I am going to present the past, present, and future of cybersecurity from Department of Energy National Laboratory. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the lab is involved in the history of cybersecurity, what happened a few years ago, and what is happening now, and what is supposed to be the future, or what the future is looking like for cybersecurity. So Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, where I work, is a Department of Energy scientific research center, which is managed by the University of California, Berkeley, and it's in the Berkeley Hills, actually. The Department of Energy, to put this in context, is the department that is concerned with the United States policies regarding energy and safety in handling nuclear material. So among its responsibilities, there's the nation's nuclear weapons program, and everything related with and the research related with energy, domestic energy production, nuclear reactors productions for the United States Navy, and also, among other things, it manages strategic oil reserves, petroleum reserves, oil. Also the Department of Energy, it sponsors more applied scientific research than any other U.S. federal agency, and operates facilities that are specialized in research and development of public interest. So it provides science and technology expertise not only to the federal government, but also to universities and the private sector. It does many other things, like, for example, supporting the NASA space missions or the national security programs. And all of this is carried out in a network of national laboratories of the Department of Energy, and it has an annual budget of 31 billion USDs, more or less. So there's around 14, 16, 17 in total national labs across the country. You can see them in the map. And some of them they develop classified research, and some others develop unclassified research. The most famous ones are, I'm sure you're familiar with them, are the Los Alamos National Lab and Lawrence Livermore, which is very close. And those handle weapons engineering systems. So those are classified laboratories. The Sandia National Lab, for instance, is in charge of manufacturing all the key nuclear components, and those are tested later on in the Nevada desert, where they have a test field. Berkeley Lab, on the other hand, is an open science type of facility. It develops non-classified research, scientific research. It has more than 4,000 employees. Among scientists, we have scientists, engineers, and support personnel. It has around 97 buildings and a budget of 950 million, more or less, per year. So it's a multidisciplinary research laboratory. So in his core capabilities, we have chemical sciences, computational sciences, material sciences, nuclear physics, all types, biological system sciences, multidisciplinary science type of research. And of course, there's cyber security and information sciences being developed at the lab. So the lab has 14 Nobel Prizes and also hosts the National Energy Research Scientific Computing Center, which we call NERSC, because it's way easier. And that's where I work in the security team of the operations security team at NERSC. It's where the supercomputers are at the lab. It's the supercomputing division. We have now a supercomputer that is called Corey, honoring Gori Corey, which is the first American woman that won a Nobel Prize for biochemistry. And the last Nobel Prize was for Jennifer Doudna 2020, last year, in chemistry. And she actually became the first woman at the lab to get a Nobel Prize. There were all men before. So a little bit of history of computing and ARPANET and about the lab. In 1974, LBNL connected CDC 6600 to ARPANET. ARPANET was and this is the first online supercomputer ever. So ARPANET was the early network that provided the technical foundation for the internet. And you can see there in 1974 a network map of ARPANET with all the nodes that were connected to the network, and that's the internet at that time. So Berkeley Lab actually has played a very important role in the creation and improvement of internet. In 1985, ARPANET, which was the testbed of internet, is collapsing actually due to the data transmission congestion. So there were a bunch of systems connected to the network, and they were interconnected in this ideal, network that was trying to resolve a very simple problem, right? Like connect two computers and transmit data in a way that you didn't have to go physically to where that computer was to bring the data. So there were a lot of data transmission congestions because there were actually no protocols to control that. So, for example, the TCP congestion control algorithms from Van Jacobson in 1988. He got a paper on avoiding and controlling congestion. That became internet standards in 1989. And that all of that was while working at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. So also in 1986, we still are in ARPANET. The network was plagued with routing instability between the many connection systems. There were massive loss of transmissions, and LBNL develops a tool to trace data packets along the way that almost everybody, I think, be familiar with that. And that tool is called Traceroute. And it's nowadays still used to identify and correct routing problems. There were other tools created at LBNL, like the TCP dump network packet analyzer that comes with the versions of Linux, and also an intrusion detection system that was called BRO. At the time, not very nice name for us women, but it came from actually Big Brother, 1984 novel. And now they changed the name, and it's called SIG, and it's an intrusion detection system that allows to spot maliciousness on a network. Going back to 1986, and with a little bit of history of hacking and how this all started at Berkeley Lab. So there was an operation that it was called Equalizer, where the KGB, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Berkeley Lab, etc., all of them were involved. And what happened was that an astronomer called Clifford Stoll, he's still alive, he was working on LBNL and discovered there was a 75-cent accounting error in user accounts. So users were paying for getting compute time, in the systems at LVNL, and there was a 75-cent accounting error that nobody knew that where that was coming from. And they could have say, well, we don't care, it's only 75 cents, but no, they went ahead and investigated that. So what happened was that Stoll traced the bug to an unauthorized user who had used only 9 seconds of computing time and had not paid for that. So they had that hole in the accounting books and then computing time that nobody can account for. And eventually, they realized that that user was a hacker, a malicious hacker, right? Because hackers can be good people too, who had gained super user or root access. He had escalated privileges to the LVNL system by exploiting, at the time, a vulnerability in the move mail function of the GNU Emacs, which was a text editor. So you can see that the process started like how things started in the 80s, more or less. They kept on going now in 2021, although to a different scale, but the process is the same. Try recognize a vulnerability in the network and exploit it. So what Stoll did at the time is what we call today network monitoring, but this was very precarious way of doing that because there were actually nobody doing this. There was no like security per se, right, in 1986. So he connected 50 terminals and printers to LVNL's 50 incoming phone lines and started monitoring the activity of every phone line during the weekends and at night. So after a lot of days, they could identify the intrusion and they could identify actually which line from which line the intrusion was coming from. So they kept on going, and instead of what we do now, that normally is we would block that traffic, that malicious traffic that is hacking on us or is compromising our systems, they let it be, and they started monitoring the activity. So what they saw is that the LVNL systems were used to jump to other US military-based systems all over the ARPANET. So Stoll at the time did a very smart thing that we actually use now too in modern days, and which is called a honeypot. So he invented a department in LVNL that will have a contract with the classified and fictitious network that was super secret and had very juicy material, and he planted all these files all over systems. So the hacker finally took the bait and spent days and days trying to connect to this mysterious network with credentials that were left there in clear text, of course, at the time, for him to try, and he was stealing all these files and the information that had been planted, especially only to confuse the person. So this is the actually the network topology of all the compromised systems or hacked systems that this person was able to penetrate, and there were about 40 computer systems connected to ARPANET at that time that were compromised for a very, very, very long time. So with all this time gained thanks to that honeypot, and also the help of the telephone companies in the US and Germany, finally Marcus Hess was arrested at his home in Hanover. So this is the first documented case of computer hacking and the use of honeypot to hunt a malicious hacker in history. So this is the first time that there were actually someone documenting this type of hacking activity or maliciousness in the network, monitoring, and the use of a honeypot. So that's very important for what security has become later on. There were a lot of lessons learned, a lot of like protocols that appeared after that, because there was an aha moment about, well, we need security and more secure systems, right? So now this is the past. Nowadays, we do network monitoring. We do it differently. What we do nowadays is a thing that is called passive network monitoring. That means that the network is not bothered at all. Security is being transparent. So we actually we do a copy of all the traffic that is coming and is going out of a network, and pass it through our security infrastructure in order to analyze it. So what Stoll was using at the time was printers and printing all the traffic. So we use nowadays more sophisticated device. So this is the security architecture design, and is used to filter malicious traffic and to prevent the appearance of compromised systems. All of this, of course, is backed or reinforced by a good vulnerability management program, and also an incident response protocol or teams that are taking care of any compromised system or any incident that can appear on a network. So for all the sophisticated tools that we use, and nowadays we have fiber network tabs that will extract that copy of the traffic. We have packet brokers that will segregate and distribute all that traffic to the right security devices where we have the right tools to actually make sense of this traffic and monitor it. We have intrusion detection systems on top of everything. We have intrusion prevention systems, host intrusion detection systems, that those devices, those systems not only trying to detect suspicious activity on the network, but also on each of the hosts or clients or machines connected to it. We have firewalls that are already next generation firewalls that are able to inspect packets in deep enough to be used as intrusion detection systems too. We have CM tools like Splunk, Elasticsearch plus Kibana, and a ton of log analysis tools that we, the security engineers, use today. We do a lot of scanning and penetration testing tools too, also in order to behave like Herman Hayes, the malicious hacker, and try to exploit our own vulnerabilities and try to find our own security holes before the malicious actors. And on top of everything, on top of this security stack, we have the most important thing to me, that is the security analysts. That even with all the automation that we are putting in place and that we are going to need in the future for sure, we are overdue for more automation. People still necessary, security people, talent in cybersecurity is key to security for sure, and it's going to continue that way. For example, this is the biggest network in the world that it was built for SC19 supercomputing conference in 2019. That was a 4 terabit per second network. Means that if you want to download the whole Netflix catalog in HD with that network, you will have it in your system in 45 seconds. So that big of a network, we're talking about terabits already, are a big problem because in terms of security, because they actually generate so much data to analyze, right? So this is only a graph for a couple hours in that network, and it's like thousands of millions of log records of network traffic and hundreds of terabytes of data stored that needs analysis, and all of that, it has to be done in real time, right? So this has become a big data problem nowadays. So we have passed from having 50 printers and that'll be enough to have a huge problem of big data that we are not able to keep up with, and that our classic algorithms that we are using, or that devices that we are using are they're beginning to become obsolete. So what do we have in the future, and what will be, we need to find a solution to this problem for sure. Well, there's one current of support for artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, and there's a lot of techniques that are being researched, and they are all in a very experimental mode. But artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms can be used to automate tasks and process data and make decisions much faster than a human, for sure, but also much faster than any automation that we have today. So that would be one way of thinking about the cybersecurity in the future. There are a lot of research areas in universities. There's game theory applied to understand dynamic security paradigms. There are planning and reasoning methods, for example, to help discover and identify attack routes. And there's machine learning used, for example, to identify malware and also for intrusion detection in networks. So there's quite a bit of research at national labs happening that are using their supercomputers, because for techniques like machine learning, you have to, not only you need a huge data set, but also you need a huge power, computing power, right? So national labs are using supercomputers and developing machine learning algorithms to recognize specific patterns of events that can lead to attacks, or that actually lead to attacks. And computer scientists develop machine learning, develop those algorithms using data from different devices, network traffic information, and instances of malicious behavior. So this is all being in research, but it's a big push in the cybersecurity world to do more in this particular field. So there's also a big push in industry where there's research and implementation, and there's big companies betting on artificial intelligence, and also some startups that are using AI to transform the cybersecurity industry. And they are doing a lot of, for example, cyber threat detection using cloud-based machine learning platforms. So what I think I will end up with is that what we have today is a big problem in security, and that's big data. And we need a solution, and we need we need it soon. So what always happens in cybersecurity is that we are playing catch up, right? Till we don't have the big compromise, or we don't see it. It seems like it's not going to happen. So it's very important to get ahead. And I think artificial intelligence and all the techniques involved with that will be the future in cybersecurity. So I think that's all I have. Thank you very much, everyone.